that does not offer simply a textbook solution, but is based on recognition of the political economy challenges. The report is practical. In accordance with Minister Li Wei's advice, the report stops short of being overly prescriptive. It offers directions, recognizing that these ideas need further debate within China before the details of precise policies or laws or regulations and guidelines can be drafted and then implemented. The report is realistic. Reforms are not easy in any country. They often generate pushback. We have tried to identify obstacles to reform, suggest sequencing and quick wins, steps that can make reforms easier to implement. We have tried to address short-term risks, but at the same time, ideas on how to make reforms participatory, building in support throughout the society, as well as feedback loops that's based on experience. This is also a report that can appeal to an international audience, especially other middle-income countries that are in a position similar to that of China and that face many of the same challenges. For that reason, I'm particularly pleased that today's audience includes development experts and leaders from a wide range of countries and diverse backgrounds. Finally, this is a report that raises difficult questions. It focuses on central policy challenges that China and other upper middle income countries will need to confront. What should be the role of government in the economy of the future? What should be the roles of individuals, households, businesses, civil society organizations? How can countries reconcile economic growth while protecting the environment and natural resources and transition to green development? What do countries need to ensure that everyone has equality of opportunity, basic social protection, long-term care for the aged, and that these services are affordable for the government, for businesses, and for households? How can countries adjust to rapid urbanization? What does it take to develop a creative, open, and innovative economy that can compete globally with advanced countries? How can we learn from the recent global financial crisis and build fiscal and financial systems that are not just resilient, but also just, transparent, and accessible to all? To address these questions, the report proposes a new development strategy for China over the next 2 decades. This strategy builds on China's considerable strengths: high savings, plentiful and increasingly skilled labor, large markets, a record of solving problems to keep growth on track, and the potential for further urbanization, while capitalizing on external opportunities, including globalization, the rapid growth of other emerging economies, and promising new technologies. The proposed reform program is based on 6 strategic pillars. First, redefine the roles of the state and the private sector so that China can complete its transition to a market economy. Currently, China relies on a mix of market and non-market measures to shape incentives for producers and consumers, and there's a lack of clarity in distinguishing the roles of the government, state enterprises, and the private sector. China needs to resolve these issues. Among specific reforms is the residency permit system, the Hukou. Priority should be given to protect farmers' rights over agricultural land, expanding land registration, and rental rights. The Chinese economy of the future needs to rely more on markets and the private sector. Second, enhancing innovation and adopting an open society system with links to global R&D networks. These improvements need to be linked to capital and entrepreneurial markets and supported by a strong rule of law and intellectual property rights enforcement. Third, promoting green development. China has a significant opportunity to transform its environmental challenges into green growth as a driver of development. Fourth, ensuring equality of opportunity and basic social protection to all. This means facilitating equal access to jobs, finance, quality social services, and portable social security, all with stronger capacity, transparency, and accountability. Fifth, strengthening the fiscal system and improving fiscal sustainability. This involves three key dimensions: ensuring that different levels of government have adequate financing to meet spending needs, mobilizing additional revenues, and reallocating spending towards social and environmental objectives. And sixth, ensuring that China, as an international stakeholder, continues its integration with global markets. China is already a key stakeholder in the world economy, though perhaps a one that is still assessing how to combine its development needs with its international responsibilities. Moving forward, China should be a key partner for global solutions in areas such as international development, open trade, global financial stability, open investment, energy and commodities, and the environment. The structural changes outlined in the China 2030 report also offer opportunities for stronger and a more constructive international ties. As the U.S. trade representative who completed China's accession to the WTO in 2001, just over 10 years ago, I was impressed by the way that Jiang Zemin and Zhu Rongji used that process of internationalization to drive internal reforms. Then I observed how the next generation of leaders, business people, and workers worked to benefit from the reforms and the WTO system. Therefore, we should also attempt to connect this generation of China's structural reforms to the changing international economic agenda, rebalancing growth, savings, and consumption, a more open and competitive services sector with greater international competition, technology development to boost productivity with protection for intellectual investments and property, encouragement of global agricultural development with attention to food security, wise and more efficient use of energy, open investment opportunities in developing and developed countries alike, internationalization of major currencies, moving to open capital accounts and flexible exchange rates, and advancing global trade through new openings and expansion of opportunities in global supply chains. Today, much of the world is focused on policies for macroeconomic stabilization. They are necessary, but they're not sufficient. The world also needs reforms to drive growth, and growth will require structural changes to enhance productivity, competition, and innovation. Structural reforms in developed and developing economies can open up new avenues for deeper cooperation and mutual benefit, instead of being bogged down in traditional disputes with their zero-sum outcomes. Perhaps mutual structural reforms offer opportunities to develop joint strategies to overcome vested interests that pose obstacles to mutual growth. I hope that the China 2030 report will provide a useful reference for policymakers and an invaluable opportunity for countries to share knowledge and experience, an opportunity, to borrow a phrase from China's father of modern development, Deng Xiaoping, to learn truth from facts. But I also hope that this report is only the starting point. Our aim is to build on research, analysis, cooperation, and partnership that we have gained over the past 18 months, so that this study can be the foundation for the development of both institutions and policies, especially for fiscal expenditure, social protection, rule of law, and competition. One of the highlights of China's successful development experience has been an ability to start at the local level, test, and then scale up. Pilot projects can be incredibly useful as learning tools. Small steps can produce big things. The World Bank Group is ready to support China's efforts to take these next steps. One of the great benefits of this joint report has been the bonds that have been developed over the preparation of the report. Vikram Nehru, the leader of the World Bank team, has told me that at the end of the day, both Chinese and World Bank teams had truly become one joint team with common objectives and deep friendships. So I'd like to thank again the Chinese authorities and our Chinese counterparts for being such outstanding partners, and I hope we can continue to work together. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing your views.